live streaming of this month's Board of Education meeting. This meeting is being recorded as well as live streamed for the issue of transparency as best as we can due to the relationship of the executive order from Governor Cuomo in regards to COVID-19 and holding meeting remotely for public board meetings. So please join us as we turn the mic over to President Pam Strollo.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. We are convening out of executive session into public session, so please join us for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. The first thing in front of us is item 2, the minutes, and we have 2 minutes this evening for approval, 2.02 and 2.03. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments, or changes? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? Thank you. On to item 3, we have 1 point in our agenda for community questions and comments. And given that we are live streaming the meeting and don't have public in live attendance, I'll call on Dr. Douglas to provide some community comments that he received. And you're muted.
Thank you, President Strollo. These remotes and mute sort of don't work together, so thank you. I'd be remiss if I did not comment for some of the people that have contacted me in the last 24 to 48 hours in regards to an item, the Medicare Advantage Plan agreement with Humana that is scheduled for approval tonight in relationship to 2 contracts, our CSEA contract and our administrative contract, which have been negotiated and agreed to, and this is the starting process to move that process forward. Several of our retirees in other bargaining units outside had been given some misinformation or led to the understanding that this would be something the district is forcing upon them, which indeed it is not. We have communicated that out. We've reached out to those that have contacted us who are very upset and disheveled by even the thought of it. But once they were at least communicated with and given the information that was more accurate about what's actually going on, they certainly understood, but they are always worried, especially who wouldn't be during this time of the pandemic and anything related to health insurance. So one of the things that I told them is that I would relay that the district has heard them and that anything being communicated out from the district would always be on official district letterhead or district communication and not from any one person or individual or any rumor or communication out in the public. And that all they have to do if they have a concern is please just pick up the phone, give us a call or an email to our HR department or our health services individuals who will be happy to help and assist them with anything. But at this time, I also told them that I would put out very clearly if they are members of any other bargaining unit other than the CSEA unit for maintenance, food service, and custodial, and the administrators unit, their plan changes in retirement have not changed and are not changing. We are working on the future of some possible options, but once those are developed, then and only then will we communicate them out. So we want to respect them and thank them for calling, and we also want to apologize to them for being unnecessarily alarmed, but we certainly understand. So I just wanted to make sure that they know that they will hear from us and they will be communicated from the district specifically, and our goal is always to honor our contracts and also to try to provide the best service for our current staff as well as our retirees. So hopefully that will help them. I did at least receive less contacts today, virtually none. So I appreciate all their hard work of communicating out as well the information to hopefully relieve some of our veteran and most dire and dedicated community members to the Horsehead Central School District. So hopefully I've done that justice, and any other questions during the board meeting, I'll have Ms. DeFilippo and Ms. Bizzetti respond as well. And I know Marianne Holleran has just joined us. Marianne, if you could select your video at this point. So hopefully I've done that justice, and I'll turn it back to you, Ms. Stroll.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to item 4, a report from our student representative, Taylor. Great to see you with us this evening.
Hi, good to see you guys too. Again, I don't have much to share this month with you all, but just a few things. Online school, at least, or learning for my classes has been going really well. I've heard things from other students. They're going really well. Teachers are being really communicative. Also, the signs in all of the seniors' yards were really well received. Everybody loved those. It's really fun to go out and see it. I have a Corning one next door, so it's kind of a rivalry, but we'll see. And as well, we got news. I'm sure some of you might have heard our valedictorian for our class is Alan Zuby, and the salutatorian is Andy Heath. So it's a big congratulations to both of them.
Excellent. Thank you very much. On to item 5, Superintendent's Report. You have to unmute again.
Thank you. I have the church bells going off, so I'm trying to make sure that they don't come across. But thank you again. Thank you for Taylor, and make sure our sign's bigger, okay, than Corning's. That would be good. There's so many things to report on, but we've been trying to communicate out weekly. One of the biggest things that was announced today is that schools for summer now will be only done through remote for our summer schools. So we are working on that. We were just notified that we will get some guidance on potentially reopening schools in September. But from what we understand, that guidance will be coming sort of June, and we must submit a plan by July 1 to let the state approve how we will consider trying to social distance. Right now, it's too soon to tell. We just do not know how do you social distance a school bus, how do you social distance a classroom, and if we have to go to multiple sessions or not, and if we do, how does that impact transportation, family schedules at home, if we have to do a hybrid. So there's a lot going into this, but more will be coming. In regards to the end of the year activities, I know we've sort of disappointed many, but I do believe the students understand, as well as the families. We're just in a time that we're taking our direction from the state and the state authorities. However, we may try to push them a little. We still have to follow those state authorities once they make their decisions. That will not sit well with many parents. That will not sit well with many adults, but we are doing this always in the effort of safety for everyone. So that's what we're going to try to maintain. Pam, you froze. Can you hear me, Brian and everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Pam froze there. She's back. Okay.
I'm back.
So that's some of the difficulties that we are having. Educationally, I have Mr. Gill who is on. We've been dealing with a lot of different issues, from parents' questions and so forth, platforms that we use, that we are really meeting every day trying to come up with the best platform to keep it as simple as possible, but yet similar from family to family and kid to kid for the next coming year. So those discussions are ongoing. Mr. Gill, would you like to talk about some of our ongoing educational concerns and issues, as we are also in hiring time for next year, which this adds a whole new realm of hiring. So I wanted to give Tony a little bit of time to talk about the instructional program that everybody's been working very hard on.
Thank you. Yes, I want to apologize. Part of what Tom was saying moments ago, I too was frozen and glitching out. I had to kick kids off Wi-Fi. Hopefully I won't glitch out. In hiring teams, it was a challenge. Caitlin and I worked together to get a process and system together. You will remember that our round 2 is typically a lesson with students. We had to rethink how we do those processes to make sure we're getting the best candidates. So those committees are going on. Remember that these are all for retirees. These are all positions through retirement that we're looking to fill back. Grading has also been a topic of conversation. We set out a memo, I'd say about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks ago, to the public, to our staff, to explain how we're going to approach grading in our pre-K through 12 programming. We're going to provide some more clarity. We just finished a teacher survey this past week to provide some guidance and understanding of how things are going and what our strengths are and where we need to improve. We also had our administrative team do a survey, so we're collecting feedback there to better create the system and looking forward. Also included will be looking to students and families to see how things are going towards June as a wrap up, to think about what we do better, how things went, and to better do the system, especially with the uncertainties of September, as we look to try to start formulating and laying some groundwork now. We are brainstorming those possibilities. That is obviously something to wrap our heads around with some of the guidance we've been given thus far, but nothing from New York State clearly yet. We do continue to work on some phonics and other curricular pieces. While we did have a halt to some of our ELA and math curriculum work that we were heavily into prior to the dismissal, we did continue some of that work that was really important, which was the phonemic awareness and the phonics programming. So those, we're working on the logistics now of what summer curriculum would work like, especially given the what this looks like right now, having this meeting and then trying to have a collaboration with teachers during a normal summer work process and trying to get back into our ELA and our math swing and get those back on track. So other than that, working on end of year logistics, students picking up their things, what does that look like, as well as the room and summer changes that need to happen during this time. So those are just some of the operational and curricular things going on my end.
Thanks, Tony.
So Tony is working with his team with the instructional piece. All during that, we're trying to transition, because now that we're shuttered, parents coming in and teachers coming in to pack up their rooms and get students' belongings that have been left behind. That has been a challenge, but I want to commend the entire facilities and offices and administrative staff, as well as our teaching staff, for coordinating it, making it as safe as possible. We are getting ready to, although it's not the end of the year, close down the schools just because we need that time to be able to start cleaning, disinfecting, and also with the construction schedule for this summer, this actually aids the school district in trying to get a little bit more work done in a timely manner. On the capital side, you can see a lot of external operations shifting right now. As of today, the hallway corridor from the library is starting to be developed. You won't be able to see that much because we've moved some contractors' gates to start making it easier for equipment to get around. But we will be starting to get some pictures and publishing them up on our website and our construction so that people can see it as it develops. As far as the district is concerned, we are going to have a power shutdown, I think, in the coming week in the north side. So everything in the north side of the high school has been moved to the south side, including the offices. You will also be seeing some of the gear up at the middle school as they start to do some site work at the front parking lot to redo the entry on the main entrance side to take care of that sort of traffic coming out, going against each other, and fixing that entry, which we're required to do with the Department of Transportation. It won't be the whole parking lot, but at least it'll give a little better, safer exit out onto Sing Sing Road. So there will be 2 lanes coming in and 2 lanes coming out, and they'll be right next to each other and not compete. As far as other things going on, there is a lot, even though we would be shuttered for the summer, there's a lot of things that we are going to have to start looking at, such as fall sports, as well as spring activities that lead into the fall, because right now we're being told nothing happens on campus until September 1 at the earliest. So that is going to be something of a handful. We do not know what it means for summer cohesion at this point, But, and we also know that most likely if the school is closed, most of our summer camps will not be able to take place during the summer as well. So these are some things that we're going to try to get some clarity and put some communication out in the coming week, but it will be disappointing to a lot. One of the things that the governor also said today is, if possible, for essential workers, we need to keep the childcare needs and the food needs taken care of over the summer for those essential workers. The problem is we don't know who they would be, but I think it's a good opportunity if the board, we're going to come to you with numbers at the next board meeting about could we continue our food service program over the summer for the benefit of our community. We've been seeing the numbers sort of tick up more now that I think people are fully aware that we are doing it, as well as how convenient and easy it is, that if the numbers are there, I would ask the board to strongly consider doing this over the summer for our community and those people that would be in need. So we'll bring that to you just with numbers at the next month. Other than that, we're moving forward and trying to stay positive with everything we do for the kids, and hopefully we will get some good news when we start to reach phase 4 of the reopening.
Okay, thank you. Let's move right on to 6.03, the Policy Committee report.
Okay, the Policy Committee met on May 12th, and we went over policies, substitutes, school board meetings, regular meetings, special meetings, and executive meetings. And they are all on the board agenda tonight for our first reading. We also reviewed board committees and school attorneys after their first readings on the last board meeting. And we took the input we received on substitutes, thank you, Ms. Holleran, into account when we developed our new substitute policy draft.
Thank you. Any questions for the Policy Committee? All right, we'll move on to item 7. And we have in front of us 702 through 719. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Warren?
I'll abstain on 7.13.
All right, thank you. Katie?
Hi, yes, I just wanted to address one question that was brought up in the Finance Committee. I just got the answer on today. There was a question regarding the proposal from Hogan Sarzinski and looking at their rates versus the discounted rates that they're offering the district. And a question about why the paralegal rate was not discounted like the others. The answer I received is because the paralegals in the office do so little work that a discount would not have a great impact on the bill, given how little they do for the district. So for the ease of bookkeeping purposes, they don't discount the paralegal piece.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Doug?
I need to, or I'm going to abstain on 7.09 and 7.18 as I am a BOCES employee, and I'm trying to avoid the appearance of conflict of interest.
Thank you. All right, anything else? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, 702 through 719, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any additional abstentions? Okay. We'll move on to item 8, personnel items for action. We have in front of us 802 through 804. Need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments? Warren?
Okay, so first of all, I have a question. When this was originally proposed in finance. It was proposed as a, for all retirees in the district. And in the introductory comments tonight, it was for administrators and CSCA. So all along, I assumed I would have to recuse myself on this vote. Do I? I was not a member of either of those units. And by introductory comments, it's not for the unit I was part of. Am I hearing that accurately? Am I interpreting those words accurately? Can I or can I not vote on this?
At this time, this gap advantage plan is to meet the contractual needs of 2 other contracts. Will the opportunity of this plan be offered to other retirees? And finance, we said we would look at that down the road because we think there's a strong probability that we would, because of the issue that it would be voluntary strictly, and it would be designed that it would be beneficial for them. If it is, individually people have that right. But it could reach out to others, but not because of a negotiated contract.
So I can vote.
That would be something that you would have to decide. I do not see a conflict, but I'm not the legal advice. Caitlin?
Right, so you're correct, Dr. Douglas. Since we discussed this in finance since October, it has always been geared towards putting in place what we negotiated with the 2 unions, but we would like to potentially offer this to other retirees in the future on a voluntary basis. Mr. Conklin, whatever you desire to do as far as your own personal vote, I don't know that I can make that call, but there is a chance that this would be offered to you as a retiree. And then you would have a voluntary choice whether or not to accept it once you have all the information.
All right, so I'll say this to make sure I have no ethical compromises. I will recuse myself. But once this passes, which I know it will, then I'm ethically bound to support what the board does. And at this point in time, it's not a finished document. I've been told we're still drilling down on details and we're still working on the details. So I don't know, the people that are going to vote are voting on an incomplete document. That is difficult for me. And then when I'm asked questions, how do I answer honestly and ethically? I don't know the answer. So for me, I look like I'm ill-informed, but I think there's too much in the air. So I don't know how away from the board I can do what I'm ethically obligated to do, which is to support the board decision when I don't have the facts to answer the questions intelligently.
My best advice, Warren, is I appreciate your statement if the board passes it, which contractually we have to pass the agreement for the contractual negotiated option that 2 units have agreed to. Now, just so that you know, Caitlin and I had trying to anticipate this question because you were very nice to give us a heads up, and we appreciate that. But what happens is no business is going to enter into a final agreement and exhaust all of the time unless they get to the agreement in principle, which that's what this document does. We cannot violate the plans that we have in place in those contractual agreements. So the purveyor, in this case Humana, understands that they have to meet our plan. If they can't meet our plan, that's where we would end up having a problem because that's what we negotiated. So what you're approving is in principle that we are working with Humana, that we have gone out and competitively work to get the best option, A, for the district, and also to meet the needs of our contractual requirements, whatever plan they may be, because we have so many different plans. So that's what we're doing, and that's what this purpose is. If you're out in the public, remember, you're as an individual, not as a board member. The board is collectively when they are together. Out in the public, what I would suggest, because nobody is the purveyor of it, I want people, if they have a question, to call the director of HR so that we can get our health liaisons, Nicole Kerbin, Pam Coughlin, to sit down and get them the factual information. It's not up to the board to tell people about their policies. It's up to the district.
And Mr. Conklin, if I may, so this contract, yeah, is just to solidify that Humana is the Medicare Advantage vendor that we have selected. So it's just to put the contractual relationship in place between Horset Central School District and Humana. The plan benefits that they are going to offer, we will ensure that they are as we've conveyed to the Finance Committee since we first brought this up at the Finance Committee in October. The plan design is going to be exactly like we've expected it, exactly like we've anticipated it. Now, once we have this contract solidified and signed on the dotted line, then Humana can go about the steps of putting plan documents in place and starting communications and putting together the summary benefits that we need to distribute to everyone so that everyone has the information, not just the Finance Committee.
Yeah, and if I can add, I know Doug has a question, just so that people know that are also listening. Just because you hear the word Humana does not mean that you are getting Humana's plan that's on their website. What you will get if you are part of these bargaining units or that we offer is a plan that is no different than being with Blue Cross Blue Shield or anybody else, that's to develop specifically for the needs of Horseheads. It's a private plan. It's not a public option. It's not something that they can broadcast or put on their website. So you can't use that information. You have to use the district's information in conjunction with our party administrator.
Doug, you had a question?
No comment, but just based on my knowledge of the law and board meeting membership in general, Warren, I don't think you have any ethical conflict here. You know, general municipal law will look at a pecuniary interest in a contract, which you, as far as I know, don't have into this Humana agreement. So I feel like you have no share in the company or anything that I know of. So it seems like you would be ethically able to vote on it. And as far as supporting it afterwards, after the majority, votes, I think, yeah, we generally support each other. We support the board. I don't think that erases our personal opinions about things either.
Right.
So if somebody asks me, you've already got 2 bargaining units to agree to provisions. Those bargaining units know what you're negotiating with Humana. If Humana cannot deliver what you've previously agreed to, what happens then?
Caitlin?
Well, we would be very upset with Humana, number one, because we've been working with them all along, and that's what we've been working on, and that's what is part of the contract that we want to put in place and move forward.
The big thing is we still have to deliver on our contractual agreement with those 2 bargaining units. And that if we can't deliver it, we can't use it.
Right.
Other questions, comments?
People just froze. There they are. Everybody just froze. So Pam had asked for other questions or comments.
Dan. Dan, you're muted.
I told myself I wasn't going to do that. not a comment on this item, but on 803, the stop loss renewal agreement.
Mhm.
I'm sure it was discussed in finance, just not being a member of that committee. I was curious, is there any kind of meaningful change in that or financial impact to the district from the selections we're making? Maybe if Ms. Bizzetti could speak to that briefly.
Yes.
Sure. Yes, we did work with our healthcare consultant to do an analysis of our claims history and our experience with our stop loss threshold. With the real question being, how many claimants are falling into that $25,000 window between the 225 and the 250. No, excuse me, 250 and 275. And the analysis showed it would be to our benefit to increase our threshold without compromising the return we get on this insurance. The threshold would be in line with organizations of our size that they see elsewhere. And given the past data, we're comfortable with making this shift. So we were able to realize that savings in our budget from the stop loss premium side, and we'll, still have the benefit of a decent threshold to protect us from large claimants.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. Answers my question.
Other questions or comments? Warren?
I thought about what Doug said, so I'll be a no on 802 in
Okay.
advance, so we know.
All right, thank you. All right, anyone else? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay? Any abstentions? Okay, on to item 9. We have in front of us 902 through 904. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, questions or comments? Mary Ann?
904, the overnight field trip for the cheerleaders. The dates, I'm hearing the governor saying we're not doing anything until September 1st, but yet that's saying their dates are 8/31, which seems to be a bit of a conflict. I had another concern in the paragraph on the first page where it says, how is the trip being funded? That they're using the cheer boosters. But then it says in the following sentence that the remainder of the cost will be covered by the athlete. And this makes me wonder, we don't know who's going to be making the team. How can they make the team by that date when they're not supposed to be meeting? But with financial situations the way they are we going to be putting a burden on a young lady who very much wants to be a cheerleader, but cannot, come up with the remainder of the cost of this trip because possibly her family just can't do it? So that's another concern.
Yes, Mary Ann, first of all, the approval is meeting the timeline for the trip if it's allowed to even go.
Okay.
So we will make that very clear. We have advised everybody they should buy trip insurance for anything that they're doing. But in order for them to do fundraising, they have to have it approved. Now, one of the things that is a requirement, the team would be selected for this trip already if the team is even selected at all, depending on what we get for guidance. So this is sort of making sure that they have the permission to do those things. As with any of our teams or camps that they have to go to, if a child has any limited financial resources, the boosters would be obligated to come up with that money to support those in need.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Christine, I think you were first. Did you have a question?
My questions were already just answered, so
All right,
I'm good.
thank you. Brian?
Just a minor one on the board agenda. If you look at 904, it says August 1st to September 3rd. So if you read that quickly, if you're a community member, you might think it's a 30-day, long event. So we just think of 31, I think, on August. Just a minor thing, but if someone skims the board agenda, it could look strange.
Yeah, we'll actually have that cleaned up with Candy, as well as we will get that cleaned up after the meeting and add that as a typo.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Dan?
I have a question about 903, the calendar for the next school year. So just as I may get questions, I want to make sure I understand. I was trying to think about the past year, and I'm looking at it on my other screen here, that I noticed, there were fewer days off. Like this past year, we had basically a 2-week Christmas or holiday break, plus the day in May, the 4-day Memorial Day weekend, at least those were planned. And I don't see those days off to the same degree in the proposed calendar. So I'm just wondering where else those fit. Are the start and end dates different, or just kind of how it maps? Last year would map onto this one.
Yeah, unfortunately, you cannot go by mapping from one year to the next, because last year's September 1st was, I think, on a Friday or a Saturday. If I'm recalling, a lot of schools are going to be starting before that Labor Day. We are not, and that eats into some of the days that we have. This is actually a 187 teacher day calendar and a 186 student day calendar, similar to the same exact counts as last year. The one thing, and I'm glad you asked the question because I didn't want to be the only one to say it, is if you notice on the top of this calendar, I've already started to plan for next year. It says pending changes as a result of any executive order for COVID-19. And the reason being is we might not have a Christmas break. We might not have a spring break. We may not have even a February break, because at any time this calendar will be subject to change by the executive order. So I want people to be aware of that right up at the beginning of it, because we just don't know. This year has thrown us in a loop that we are ending a week earlier than we did just because of the spring break to meet our 180 days and hours. This minimally meets our hours and our legally required days at this point. So we would not have that February break. We have virtually only 3 days off during December, and those 3 days are eaten up by the shortened calendar of the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday the week before. So hopefully that has helped to answer the question.
I think it does. I have a follow-up, but if it's not answerable, that's fine. I guess I just still a little. Is part of the answer that we've shifted from days to hours calculation, and that's why? Because
it is both.
Because if you just look at, it seems to me like we had 4 days off in this current calendar that we don't have in the next one, and I'm wondering where those went.
Yeah, it's a shift in all the vacations in the beginning of the year and the end of the year.
Brian?
To me, it looked like that Labor Day, we were able to start the school year last year, Dan, September 4th, and next year, September 9th. So that's a big difference right there.
Other questions, comments? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, say aye and raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? Okay, on to item 10. We have in front of us 1001 and 1002 for approval. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Right, any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? All right, on to item 11. We have for first reading 1101 through 1105. Are there any questions or comments for the policy committee? Okay, hearing none. Item 12, any additional board member comments? Marianne?
Oh, there we go. I just want to say thank you and congratulations It was wonderful. And, there were a lot of people in the area that I was in, but they were all, socially distancing. People had masks on, and there were lots and lots of smiles coming from those cars. So I thought it was very well done.
Good.
I brought my football bell.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, then I need a motion to adjourn to executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so Dr. Douglas,
And
you,
if I may add, you're
Yeah.
motioning to move to executive session to discuss an individual personnel matter, and then also that there is no action to be taken after.
that is correct. All right, so we should have a meeting request for the executive session in our email inbox, correct?
Yeah, it will just take me a couple seconds to get that once we get everybody and shut down the meeting.
Excuse
Doug,
me.
John?
Okay, Doug?
I don't know if you're going to already, but we need a vote to go ahead.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay, so we have all the logistics covered. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? All right, so we will sign off of this meeting and move to the next one.
Thank you. This concludes our Board of Education meeting.